Seem like a couple of new faces. Hey, well, welcome. Really nice to have you with us. So people might continue sort of trickling in for a bit, but I'll start with some introductory bits and pieces. So I guess firstly, just a little bit about what this is, right? So this is a forum dedicated to inquiry, right? So it's a space to learn a little bit about the practice of inquiry, maybe discover something more about it if you already do it, or get a tiny little taster of it if you're new to it. And it's a public forum, right? So anybody is welcome. We really want, the whole purpose of this is really just to help people discover and grow in this practice. So anybody is welcome. We record the session. And if you find the session useful and want to have a look at some of the past sessions, they are all, or not all, many of them are available on divein.life. So Susan will put that in the chat. Say hi, Susan. Susan is helping me out here. There she is. So a lot of them will be available on divein.life, particularly on the blog page. And you will also, we share some of them in the newsletters. So you'll see some of them shared every so often there. Over the last year or so, really, I guess we've been doing these for coming up for a year. We've been touching on different facets of inquiry, really following my book, Diving in the Inner Ocean. So each month, we've kind of touched on a particular either part of the dynamic of inquiry, the actual finding out where you are, what's happening in your experience, and then beginning to follow the meanings of it. And then we spend some time looking at the head, the heart, and the belly. We spend a meeting on each of those. And so today we're going to take a whole step and expand to a broader view. And I called today's session 3D inquiry. I call it 3D or 3C because, of course, we talk about the three centers, the head, the heart, and the belly. So the head, the heart, and the belly, really our mind and the meanings, our heart and its feelings, and our belly and our sensations. And these are really the sort of three dimensions of our experience. We can't really get to know ourselves. We can't really understand our experience unless we are including all of these dimensions. So that's a little bit what we're going to be looking at today. So in the meeting today, we're going to have a short guided practice. And then we'll do a little bit of teaching. I'll say a few things about it. And then there'll be a short exercise. So you'll find yourself, if you stay for the exercise, you'll go into it, which we hope you do, because that's where you'll actually get to try it out. You'll go into a breakout room with one other person, and you'll each have a short period of time to do an exercise, a little mini form of inquiry. And then we'll come back and have space for discussion and sharing about what you found and the topic. So, and anything else that you'd like to bring or ask. So that's a little bit how the evening will go. Yeah. So take a moment as we begin. And I'm just going to walk you through a series of steps to get us turning towards this inner ocean of our experience, which is really what inquiry is all about. It's all about you. It's all about what's happening for you, in you, right now, whatever that is. So begin remembering your friends. If you want to go exploring in the sea, you've got to approach those fish, those coral reefs gently, kindly, sensitively, with interest. So you want to consider turning to yourself, turning to your own experience. with the same kind of attitude. Warm, kind, friendly. I wonder where I am. I wonder what I'm going to find. Right. You can let your eyes close. We'll begin with a short meditation. I want you to just begin with that friendly interest. Just notice, how am I doing right now? Where am I right now? For you, it might be the morning, it might be the evening, as it is here in London. It might be the end of your day, the beginning. And you're just taking a moment to notice where you're at. How's your energy? What are you feeling? How's your body? What sort of sensations do you notice in your body? How's your mind? What's your mind busy with or thinking about? Maybe it feels still, clear, churned up. And with all of these things, there's no right or wrong. There's nowhere you should or shouldn't be. The only thing you're really interested in is where you actually are. Like just being honest, simple. Well, that's what's here. This is where I'm at in this moment. Notice how it is to check in with yourself in that way, how it affects you, to just notice a few things about where you're at. Just feeling that, the effect. And then sensing both your feet on the ground. Sensing your legs, the actual immediate sensation of your legs. This is what you can actually sense, whatever it is, clothes, muscles, skin, temperature, energy. And then your butt, your hips on the chair. And then noticing your spine rising up from your seat. Just notice the curve of the spine, the uprightness of your spine. Sensing all the way up it to the top of your head. And then over. And as you come down, relaxing your forehead and your eyes. Relaxing your nose and your jaw, the mouth. And sensing down into your torso, your chest. Feeling the movement of your chest as you breathe. Your diaphragm. And then coming to your belly. And bringing your attention to your lower belly. That area below your navel. And just notice, what are you sensing there? What does that feel like? If you don't feel much there, you could put your hand on your lower belly, and a little bit of pressure might give you something to feel. Otherwise, whatever it is, emptiness, pressure of your belt, your breakfast, or maybe some kind of tingling or movement as you breathe. And just taking a moment to sense that. Might be energy, fullness, openness, aliveness, or something inert. Whatever you find. And we're going to just take a few minutes hanging out with that, seeing if you can stay in touch with that lower belly, just staying close to it, whatever it does, and whatever else happens in your experience. Placing your concentration there on that sensation. And if you find your attention wandering off and you go swimming after some interesting thought or feeling or situation, as soon as you notice that, just for the moment, bring your attention back to sensing your belly. It's almost like you're letting yourself rest down on the bottom of the ocean floor, just staying close to the sensation of your belly. All sorts of things might be going through the water, but for now, you're just letting yourself sit down at the bottom and sense your belly. Okay, so here you are. Let go of that practice. And as if you were down at the bottom of the ocean, now let your awareness open up and begin to take in more of your whole field of experience. So it's like you're looking up from your sitting spot and you're starting to look around, starting to see what's floating in the water. You might begin to notice sensations, not just of your belly, but throughout your body. A whole world of sensation. You might sense sensations that feel beyond your body, bigger than your body, as if your body is floating in space or part of a whole bigger field. You might notice different kinds of sensations in different parts of your body. You might notice feelings, affects. Like maybe you feel content or peaceful or happy or curious. Maybe you feel irritated or bored, frustrated, or a little anxious. There might be all kinds of feelings floating around. So that's another whole layer that you can notice in your experience. The feelings. And you might notice things in your mind, things you're conscious of or thinking about, thoughts, preoccupations, questions, dialogues, images, pictures, ideas about things, judgments. So there might be all kinds of mental things around. And all of these things are like the creatures, the seaweeds, the little tiny shrimps, and the giant big whales, all the content of your inner world, the content of your experience that is in this ocean of your inner world. And as you look around from where you are right in the moment, you just see the things that you can actually see, the feelings, sensations, thoughts that are actually here for you right now. Letting yourself notice them, include them. So now you're in touch with the fullness of your inner world in some way, a little more in touch. Begin sensing your feet. Include specifically the sensation of your feet and your legs, the sensations of your hands and your arms. So you're sensing arms and legs. And then include your sense of sound, your sense of listening. Listening. Listening in the inner world, listening to the environment, your breathing, my voice, whatever's going on, you can hear around you. And when you're ready to, let your eyes very gently begin to open and include your visual sensing. You're seeing, you're looking. Noticing the colors and shapes and textures and objects, spaces, people on the screen. So you're sensing, looking, listening, and in touch with your inner world in some way. It's all part of your inner world, really. See if there's a movement that would feel good. What would feel nice in your body right now? Anything you'd like, a stretch or a breath. Drink of water. And then settle back in, sensing again into yourself, staying in touch, staying close. And we're going to do a little experiment here. I'm going to ask you to type something into the chat. So if I say to you, yeah, what's here? What's here? Like, what's the thing you notice that's here? And just say a word or two. Just a word or two of what's here. So Natasha says, relaxed, happy dancing feet, achy muscles, welcoming, gratitude, tiredness, sleepy, restless and anxiety, tiredness, peace, tightness, distractedness, peaceful. Okay, and on it goes. Receptive, stillness, quiet, grounded, stillness, disturbed, space and agitation, anxious, belly, surprise, fidget, ease and gratitude, peace, aliveness, space and openness. So as you sense all of that, right, you notice all these different things that are here. Now I want you to notice, look through that list. I want you to start noticing something. So how many of those things are feelings, right? So for some people, the first thing that they mention that stands out for them is a feeling, a heart thing, welcoming, gratitude, right? Peace, feeling. Peace is interesting. It can be either a feeling or a sensation, right? Disturbed, surprise, ease and gratitude. Those are feelings, right? So some people mentioned a feeling. Some people mentioned a sensation, right? So sensations, we've got achy muscles, right? Tiredness, restlessness. If I go from the other end, fidgety, right? Disturbed, again, not sure if it's a feeling or a sensation. You can't quite say just on the one word, right? Tightness in my jaw. These are sensations. So for some people, where they went first, the first thing that they noticed was a sensation, right? And a few people noticed their minds, distractedness, receptive could be a mind quality, quiet, right? Interesting that having gone through the practice, not a lot of people were mentioning the thoughts or ideas or judgments or things that are occupying their minds. So it seems like the minds, many of the minds are more still right now, right? More peace, more peacefulness. Right? But yes, not everyone by a long chalk. So all I'm wanting to highlight for you is that even just in a first just a first response, a first thing you notice, right? I mean, we start somewhere. We can't mention everything at once, but we tend to have a place that we go. For many people, in our inquiry, we tend to have an area of our experience that we are more familiar with, that we go to first, that we will tend to talk about the most. Some people will spend a lot of time talking about their feelings, right? They can tell you all about how sad they are and angry, and they can describe it in all this great detail and even something of what it's about, right? But they have a very immediate contact with, say, a whole range of feelings. Some people much more in touch with the sensations of their bodies, right? They feel straight away the tightness, the physical tiredness, the aches and pains and energy or aliveness of the body, right? The sensations of their consciousness, the hollowness or the density or solidity. These are all sensations. Right? Some people are very good at feeling the sensations. They say, like, I feel sort of very like dense and solid. And you say, well, how do you feel with that? And they can't say. They're just like, well, I just feel dense and solid. How does it affect you? They maybe don't notice, or they're not so in touch with, well, it makes me feel confident and at ease, for example. Right? It makes me feel relaxed and like I've got this. Right? That's more a feeling. So sensations and feelings often, they're all linked. Everything is linked. The sensations, the feelings, and it's all linked with the ideas in your mind and the things you're thinking about and the situations that you're thinking about. It's all connected. Some people, when you sit down and inquire with them, if you leave them to their own devices, they can talk the whole time about what's going on in their life, right? All about their circumstances and every idea they have about it and what's going on and what it means, right? They're totally taken up with that. So none of these things is wrong, right? They are all essential parts of your world, your inner world. And really, we sort of, in checking in, we divide it into sort of 4 layers. We talk about, so we should even say 4D inquiry, right? Because we talk about the feelings, the heart, the sensations, the belly, the mind and the meanings, and of course, the actual life circumstances that all of this may be in relation to. Because it's probably not just happening in a vacuum. Sometimes it is. Sometimes your inner process is just your inner process. But oftentimes your inner process is arising in dialogue with your life, with things that are happening. So even just to really check in, when I say that simple question, where are you? What's up with you? What's going on for you? To really fully get a sense of that, we need to include all of those layers. We need to be recognizing our feelings, our sensations. It's like you might recognize, oh, I've got butterflies in my tummy, but you don't recognize, oh, I'm feeling anxious and kind of afraid about something. Or you might feel, I have this sense of lightness and floatiness in my heart. You don't recognize that, oh, I feel kind of joyful and playful. Or the other way around, you might be feeling joyful and playful, and you don't recognize that, oh, there's this light, bubbly sort of effervescence arising in my heart. Right? And they're connected, they're part of the same thing. And maybe it has something to do with something in my life or something in my process. We might not recognize all the ideas we have about things. In fact, we looked at this last dive-in session. right? You have a feeling, you have all these ideas about, well, it's a bad feeling, I shouldn't be feeling that. Those kind of feelings are only supposed to happen at certain times or in certain circumstances. I shouldn't be feeling love for that person. What is going on with that? Right? So we have ideas, beliefs. I'm not someone who feels those kind of things. Or I am. I'm a happy person. I'm always a happy person. It's an idea. We have that as an idea. So if our inquiry is going to be really powerful, really full, right from the checking in process, we need to recognize as fully as we can all these different dimensions: the mind, the heart, and the belly, the meaning, the consciousness, the feeling, the affect, and the sensation. That's how we can see and recognize where we are. And it is the seeing and recognizing and articulating that begins the whole dynamic process of inquiry, of getting to know ourselves, finding out what's really true for us, because that's what we're interested in, right? Just to find out what's true, where we are, what's up with us, and then to explore it and follow its meanings. So this is a little bit when I talk about 3D inquiry, this is what I'm talking about, right? Including all of those different dimensions, including the totality of your experience, the fullness of your experience. And it doesn't happen automatically. It takes practice. It can take a certain kind of practice and engagement to look into the places that are less go-to for you. Yeah. And that also can take time. Like if you are somebody who is very familiar with your feelings, but not at all with your sensations, then you can say very easily what you're feeling, but it may really take you some time to go, okay, hang on a minute. Let me see, what do I actually sense in my body? As I'm feeling that, what do I sense? I'm going to have to actually take some time to do that. Or the other way around. I might be feeling a sensation in my body and I go, well, okay, how am I actually feeling with this? How is this affecting me? What feeling do I have as I sense, some people very good seeing things. They see, oh, I see silver light and there's gold arising in my heart and lots of unfolding and gold and jewels. And you say, okay, well, what are you feeling? How are you feeling with that? Oh, there's more gold and red and green. And okay, but as you see the red and as you feel the green, what does that do? How does it make you feel? It's the only way to discover the meaning of it. Like, oh, I feel the red. I feel this red and my heart feels like fiery and red and it makes me feel juicy and alive. Okay, now we're seeing what it is, right? Can sense it and feel it and know the meaning of it and understand what's going on. Whereas if we're just kind of sensing some sort of red fieriness and it's not really making us feel anything and we don't really know or can't really say what it is, how can we be understanding our experience? We aren't. So that's the invitation, to kind of slow it down and include all of these dimensions. As inquirers, we want to become adept at feeling into all these different possibilities and recognizing them and seeing how they make up this rich inner tapestry of our experience. So I am going to give you a little exercise to do. I want you to check this out for yourself. Now, just to be clear, this exercise is a little bit like, you could think of it as, I used to play the piano. So you could think of this as like a 5-finger exercise for it's like a drill, basically. If we're going diving in the inner ocean, this is like doing some swimming drills. So it's not really an inquiry, right? It's not an open explore where you are and see what it is. It's an exercise that helps you sort of strengthen certain muscles, practice in a certain way that, it's a bit artificial, but it allows you to recognize and begin to include all these parts of your experience. And so the way I want you to do it is you're going to have a certain amount of time, probably maybe 7 minutes each. You'll be in pairs. And I want you to cycle through the 3 centers and your circumstances. So what you're going to do, what that's going to look like is you're going to say something about, start with a circumstance, something in your life that's up for you, something that's, going on and has relevance. A sentence. We're not talking about a whole monologue, just a sentence, maybe 2, but just say something about a circumstance that's up for you. Then take your time and say an idea that's occurring to you, something you think about your experience. Just anything, something you think. And then say something you feel. So mention a feeling that's here, right? A feeling that's actually here right now. And then a sensation. Then mention a sensation. So you might say, well, I'm giving this talk for this inquiry, my dive-in session tonight, and that's the circumstance that I'm aware of. I don't know what I think about it in the moment. I kind of go blank when I have a look for a thought about it. I feel kind of excited, like I feel quite joyful and excited about it. And I'm sensing my legs. I can feel my legs on the ground and my feet. And there's a sort of sensation of some kind of heaviness in my body. And then you go again. You just start at the top again. Some circumstance that's up. You can say the same one, right? You don't have to. You just mention whatever seems to come for you, right? So you're just cycling around, noticing your circumstances. Oh yeah, actually there's that thing going on with the flat right now. That's also a bit on my mind. I really don't know what I'm going to do about that. That's the thought. There's a feeling of like, I thought of like, I don't know, seems like a bit of a dilemma. And the feeling feels sort of slightly unsettled, like just a bit unsure, really. The sensation in my belly feels a bit like like a kind of churny, slightly churny, anxious feeling. Okay. Yeah. So that's what you want to do. You want to just cycle through these things, keep checking in to the different layers, and just mention something that you find there. Okay. So they can be connected, they can not be connected. You don't have to try and make them be connected. You just, each time you come, you're like, okay, now I need to talk about a feeling. Let me just mention whatever feeling is here. Doesn't even have to be about what you just spoke about. You're just mentioning a feeling that is now here. It might be the same feeling. You might say the same feeling 5 times. It's fine if it's what's actually there for you. Okay, so you just have space. You're having space to just look around and notice each of these. It's like you're noticing the plants, and then the fish, and then the rocks, and then the islands, and then the plants and the fish, and you just see what happens. Okay, so you're going to do that for, 7 minutes. Each person will have 7 minutes. Really take your time You know, there's no rush. Remember, you're not doing it for anybody. It's just for you to look around your inner world and see what's up for you. And if you can't think of anything, and I'm thinking of this particularly with the circumstances, you know, you can also just say, well, I'm going to pass on that right now. I can't, there doesn't seem to be anything, or no, maybe that's better. It's not that you pass on it. You just say, well, there isn't anything that comes up, right? How am I feeling? Well, it's kind of no feeling right now. And that's totally fine too. Okay. So you can just say, oh, I don't have anything in that right now, in that department. Okay. So 7 minutes each. And then I want you to take a further 5 minutes to just discuss the effect of it. Like, how was that for you? How was it for you to keep checking into these different layers of your experience and see what happens, right? Just share. Was some of it easy? Was some of it difficult? Did you notice you had more facility with, say, your feelings than with your sensations? You just want to reflect on the experience and see what you see about how it was for you to go to these different dimensions. Okay. So you have a 5-minute discussion. And then we'll come back. So that'll take 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 5 is 19. We'll add 5 minutes for coming and going to the loo and, you know, getting a drink. And let us start back here at, say, so we need about 20 something minutes. Let's start back here at 35. So 35, we'll start the Q&C. It's 7:13 here. So we'll start at 7:35. All right, enjoy the exploration and see you back. All righty, so we're all back. Let's go. Questions, comments, sharing, discussion. I'm curious, how was that? How was that kind of an exercise for you? Laura, go ahead. So you'll need to unmute yourself there. Yeah, there you go.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Dom. Thank you. So actually, I didn't want to attend this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And now I find myself being quite happy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
What made you happy?
Well, in our group, there was an open question. And through that question, I remembered something. And I think the remembrance is something that brings me closer to taking my life taking it more in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, and something about that makes you happy.
Yeah. That I can enjoy being myself.
Oh, how nice. Yeah, that's lovely. Lovely to discover that you enjoy being yourself, then you can take your life in.
Yes.
That's wonderful. These are the things we discover with inquiry. I'm also curious what made you come to something that you didn't want to come to.
Well, actually, I was complaining in my Pearl group
that
I want a teacher, and I wish we had a teacher in our Pearl group, because I wanted some more guidance. But then after this session of the Pearl group, there was also the knowing that in this Pearl group, exactly those things happen that should happen. Okay. So that every ego is screaming with what it wants.
Yes. Providing a perfect opportunity for inquiry.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
however it's screaming. Beautiful. Lovely. Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else? If you want to raise or just share or ask a question, raise your electronic hand. So you do that under the reactions button down at the bottom. You'll see there's a raise hand thing there, and then we'll call on you. And Liz.
Hi. This is my first time to be part of the group, and it's been very interesting. I've enjoyed it. So I found that exercise really highlighted for me the process of noticing my initial reaction to a situation and the kind of story about it, the feelings I felt, the constriction in my body. And as I circled through that same situation again and again, something shifted and changed. And there was, for me, I think something about just noticing what was here in the moment that allowed me to tap into, it almost felt like something wiser that knows better than my initial knee-jerk reaction to the situation that happened. And it was something that happened just before I came on the call. So it felt like the perfect situation to use to practice the process. The other thing that I really enjoyed was connecting with somebody and recognizing the similarities and the kind of touch points just in terms of what's happening in each of our lives. So that was just an added delightful bonus. So thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Very glad I'm here.
It's so delightful, exactly, to encounter other people, really. So both our own truth and encountering our own truth and how it opens up is wonderful, and encountering other people's truth is really delightful. I want to say something about what you shared there in terms of the dynamism, because I know, for people who are new to inquiry, so what you're noticing there is that simply the noticing, the actual articulation and the discrimination of all the different levels of experience begins some kind of dynamic process that happens, right? And that's what I often call the magic of inquiry, right? And the magic of inquiry, like the dynamism that happens just from the recognition, is like the first step, right? And then the more we see and the more we begin to understand and the more we follow the meanings of like, oh, what makes that feeling happen? I got that contraction in my belly and I had those feelings, and where's that coming from inside me, right? That creates a whole nother kind of dynamism, right? That opens things up in very powerful and interesting ways. So you're really pointing to something that is so magical about this book.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you noticed that. And Kayer.
Hi.
Hi, great to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too, Dominic. I really like that exercise a lot, particularly starting with your life circumstance, whatever kind of comes up. And it's just like, because it seems to me there's always something going on for me, sometimes it's just kind of neutral, but eventually it's like, yeah, this is kind of the thing that's really topmost that's going on. And what I did notice when it came to the sensation, the fourth point, the sensation was always, as I'm sitting here just listening to you talk to other people, and at first I was thinking, well, it seemed really disconnected from everything else, from the life circumstance, my ideas about it, my feelings. And then I go to sort of what's going on in my body. And it's just like, I just feel like I'm sitting like on a meditation cushion. I feel very disciplined or something. And so I'm thinking, well, it seems kind of disconnected. But as I'm sitting here thinking, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just kind of a very grounded spot that I'm in, even though I'm looking at whatever else is going on around me that I'm still kind of holding on to that rock, as you describe it, like when we're doing the Kath meditation of, I'm still holding on to that rock, even though I might be kind of looking at other things or something. So I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. So as you see, so this was just a checking in, right? We just noticed different things. And immediately just this noticing starts bringing about a whole lot of curiosity for you. Like, oh, I don't really know how these are connected, right? But yeah, there seems to be, well, I feel kind of grounded, right? So now you're beginning to explore the meaning of that sensation.
Yeah.
The thing that you point to there that I think is very common for people. I mean, it's what, you know, I can certainly say as a diamond approach teacher, like one of the most common things you end up asking people, you have to keep saying to them, what are you sensing in your body? Because for many of it, it is the last place we go. So we're used to being in our minds and talking about our circumstances and maybe noticing our feelings, right? But to really finely notice our sensations is very unusual. It's not where we go. So part of the value of this kind of practice is to keep looping in the sensations, because I can tell you for this kind of inquiry, the sensate experience, I don't want to say it's the most important, but in a way it's kind of the ground that it is essential for everything else.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I do an inquiry practice in the morning just on my own. And the first thing I'm paying attention to are my sensations. And then the other things come up. So I guess because you told us to do it the other way around, then something different happened to me. And it was like, oh, I don't know what I'm sensing, because maybe I'm sensing something different. So it's just interesting to do it that way around, when it's the first thing I go to in the morning is, well, I feel kind of neutral, and oh no, now I'm thinking about something, and then the thoughts start coming up. So yeah.
Wonderful. Great.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Zaprian. Hey, Zaprian.
Yes. Hi. Hello, Dan. Hi, everyone. Well, firstly, I wish to say that I'm speaking partly on my own experience, and partly what we discussed in the group, which I just came out of. And it's that, well, I don't know if the diamond approach is evolving, or it's how you as a teacher are presenting it, but I've been in this work for a few years, and I've been to different online groups, different teachers, have a one-on-one teacher as well. And I feel that the way that you're presenting the teaching with these 4 areas of experience, 3D inquiry, it feels so fundamental and so graspable, so easy to understand. And my sense is that I am acquiring the teaching in the way that I wanted to be taught in the beginning when I started a few years ago. So for me, it feels very much like I'm filling up fundamentals about the diamond approach.
Oh, wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yes.
Great. I'm glad it's useful. That's kind of what I'm hoping it will do. So it's good to know it's working. Yes,
and that makes it very fresh, very exciting for me to work with inquiry itself.
Yes, because it is. It's the most exciting, fresh kind of process around. That's how I feel about it. So it's great that you get that.
Yeah. So thank you so much about
So,
that. Yes. And my question is a bit fundamental about the inquiry practice itself. Yeah. It's coming because I'm also engaged in this continuum movement approach. Mm-hmm. Are you somehow familiar with it? Or?
Not really, but vague idea, but keep going anyway.
Okay, I think my internet just interrupted a bit. What did you say?
Yeah. Yes, so I said not really, but okay.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, so it's very much a somatic approach. And a few years ago, I was in this diamond body group, which back then was called 5 movements because it was only 5 movements. And I was with a teacher from the USA. and Greg Knight, and he said something like, well, you heard this approach is not the mind approach, but it actually is, and that's why I'm going with the 5 movements, because I want to go through the body. So that's just his perspective. I'm just sharing it. And also in the introduction to the teaching of A.H. Alma's, the book by John Davis, he says, he writes something along the lines of, well, I have the book here, so it says, healing and growth, whether psychological or spiritual, occur as a natural development of your soul, when he's speaking about inquiry. And I'm thinking, what about the soma part? Because there is psycho-spiritual healing, and what about the soma, or the somatic, or the body kind of, yeah.
Well, what you can see is in our practice, in inquiry, we include all of it. All of it is included. The somatic experience, even what we recognize is the somatic experience is much more even than most people who think about somatic experience think about it. They think it's just sensations of the body. We recognize actually sensations of consciousness. It is sensations of the body, but not only, right? How else do you explain that you can have a sensation of joy in your chest, that is a sensation that you can sense? Right? So there are these sensations. So we have a very deep kind of somatic and sensory engagement, the heart and the feeling. And when people say it's not a mind approach, I think what they mean is it is not an intellectual approach. We are not thinking about our experience and analyzing it. That would be an intellectual kind of inquiry. But we are absolutely using the fullness of our mind to recognize and discriminate what is arising freshly as it's arising, and in time to follow its meanings and to understand it. Right? Inquiry is also one of the differences between inquiry and some of the more somatic-based sort of practices, is that in time, in inquiry, we actually do want to understand. We need to understand ourselves and what's going on in us. It's not just a case of, oh, there's some, random or some sensations arising and emotions and discharge and all of that. That's fine, but you need to understand what it is. And in time, with the practice of inquiry, you will. And that's what brings about, going back to the first question, that's what brings about the dynamism and the growth and the transformation.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for your question. Great. Sue.
Hi, Dom.
Hi, Sue.
So I learnt like a discrimination in this, which I want to share. It's quite interesting. So the first circumstance was being here. And it was very easy to say, I feel like joy and kind of a resonance. And then every cell in my body is dancing, and like quite a palpable impact. Then I did, on the second cycle, I did the same circumstance, but I had a reaction to it. So it's a reaction to how I feel about the circumstance. And then there's comparing mind coming in, confusing, like small group and other groups I attend, and what's the difference, and why is this doing it and others don't, and a whole noise in my mind. And then so then I'm going, wow, this is confusion about a circumstance. Like I've just felt a palpable thing, and then I'm reacting to it.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, well, what's the confusion feel like? And it's like, like very, like a noisy, like a lot going on, like a lot of voices, a lot of different conflicting feelings, a lot of unknowns, and sort of a bit of pressure, like, why is it, not just gentle curiosity, more like you've got, sort of a pressure, comparing. So sort of intensity, attention.
Yes, right.
And so it's kind of and then the sensation, I thought, wow, that's incredible. There's like the pure thing that's happening.
Yes.
And then there's the reaction to the experience of the pure thing, which is another experience related to it, but not the same. And it's entirely different. Like really the confusing experience. I've never really felt confusion like in that discriminating way of what it's like in the body.
Beautiful.
But yeah.
Beautiful, wonderful. So you see, in a sense, what you're really highlighting for us is just how dynamic the experience is. So as we start noticing the fullness of all the different layers to it, like if you'd only noticed the feelings, much less what you probably would have happened. But there were things about the feelings and then the sensations and then reactions to that, and then trying to make sense of the meaning of it and comparing it to different situations. So you see, what starts off just as one simple thing kind of opens up into a whole world of exploration. And in a normal inquiry, then you can, sense yourself, slow it nice and down, and then begin to explore different pieces of it that you hang out with and stay with, right?
Yeah. And I sort of realize often there's confusion if there's different parts in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really helpful to go and feel each part separately rather than feeling confusion. I mean, it's just a divide itself.
Exactly. Yeah. So to really take the time. So this exercise just kind of stimulates things in a certain way, and then it gives you, then you need to take the time to actually inquire into what comes up.
So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, you're so welcome. Great. So I think that's kind of bringing us to time. Yeah, I'd be curious if there are other people who want to share anything. If you had a difficult time of it, feel free to share that too. Everything that, sort of, it's all useful, and it helps us sort of shape other things that we might say and how we might go about things here, because this is very much a living forum. It's just evolving as we go. We will be meeting again on, I think Susan's put it all in the chat. So we'll be meeting again on the 9th, November the 9th and December the 14th. She's put the link for the blog. Most important to say, two things, I guess, two announcements. So next Dive In with Dom, we'll be looking at something about the Enneagram. So that's very topical right now with all the, with Russ and Sandra doing the Keys to the Enneagram course with the school on Hamid's latest book. So we'll just do a little something about the Enneagram next time. And there is a dive-in, a second part of the inquiry course starting in November. So dive-in really, so this is a little taster, and then alongside this, we actually run inquiry courses, right? And so the first course is called Mindful Inquiry, that introduces the dynamics of inquiry, and that's 6 sessions, and we're just wrapping that up now. We're going to be running that again probably 3 times during the course of next year. Starting, I think, in February. And then we are running the second part of the course starting on in November, 15th of November, right? And that's on 3D inquiry. So we're going to be going into the 3 centers. What we did today was just like a little taster of what we'll be doing over the course of that course. So I do recommend that you've done the first course in order to do the second one. Or if you haven't done the first course and you do have some experience of inquiry, that you have at least read chapters, probably 1 to 10 of the book. So you have that perspective, because we won't be covering that ground again. But both courses will be running again next year, so you don't need to worry about missing them. And I think that's it. Everything is on divein.life. You can find courses and the past recordings of these sessions. And I want to thank you for just showing up here and sharing this amazing, wonderful practice, which is really nothing other than discovering and recognizing what we are as human beings, which is such an extraordinary thing. So thank you for coming. And let's end, we sometimes do, we'll end with a little bow. And the bow is just to honor the truth and honor the loveliness that gets revealed as we get more and more in touch with ourselves. right. Good night, everybody. Good day if it's your day.
Thank you very much.